Hello folks, Dom Lawson here from the Metal Hammers magazine for all your hammer needs. Yeah, so here we are again. I say we, I mean me. Obviously I'm on my own in a room somewhere talking into my MacBook, and it's jolly thrilling. For me anyway, not probably less so for you, which is a worrying thought. Anyway, so yes, today I'm going to talk to you about fucking brilliant. I mean, it is a fucking brilliant album. There's no point in me pretending it's not. So there's no suspense here. Ooh, is he going to like this one or not? No, I'm going to, because it's fucking brilliant. I'm drinking some warmed up Mike Shinoda Seaman today, which is nice. Mike, that's delicious. Not very strong though, I notice. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, so today I'm going to talk to you about a band who have been, I think, extremely important when it comes to, and influential actually, in the realm of what I would like to refer to as metallic hardcore. Now, I'm not going to call it metalcore, because that phrase, that term, has been abused so appallingly over the last 12 or so years that you know, it's just fucking meaningless now. You know, most of the stuff that gets described as metalcore now is really just melodic death metal with breakdowns in it. And although there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, and I like a lot of that kind of music anyway, it's got absolutely fuck all to do with the metallic hardcore that I listened to when I was younger, and that I still listen to now. I mean, when I got into hardcore of any description, really, it was kind of via thrash, really, I suppose. And I got into things when I was a teenager, got into stuff like DRI and Crumbsuckers and fucking hell, who else? Circle Jerks and things like that, and through that kind of stuff I discovered the New York hardcore scene and bands like Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags, and those were bands that, you know, that to me that was real hardcore. You know, I mean, I know, you know, obviously you can always cite, you know, Minor Threat and Bad Brains and Black Flag and stuff like that as being instrumental in the development of hardcore, just as you can with things like Discharge and GBH over here, but really, to me, when somebody says hardcore, I think of, you know, Agnostic Front, and I get sick of it all as well, you know, and bands like that. That to me is what it's all about. It's about angry men wearing vests shouting about how awful everything is on the streets of New York. That, to me, is the epitome of great hardcore, really. And yeah, obviously, you know, as a teenager, I was living in leafy suburbia, and I would much rather have read a book or watched a rerun of Dad's Army than had a fight with anybody. And the streets weren't particularly mean, really. I mean, there was a bit of gossip going on and a few twitchy neck curtains, but certainly no extreme acts of violence. But anyway, so it's not so, you know, in theory I couldn't really relate to it, but then I can't really relate to people banging on about Satan, since he doesn't exist in my life either. But I love all that stuff, and I loved all the New York hardcore stuff. Anyway, so New York hardcore, that's metallic hardcore for me. It's, you know, incredibly fucking heavy. And yes, it had breakdowns and stuff, but it was aggressive and fast, and it was punk rock, and it was metal, and it was cool. And so that's good. So this band that I'm going to talk about now is Vision of Disorder. Now, when Vision of Disorder came along with their debut album, which I think was in 1990, I'm guessing, right, I might have to look this up, but 1996, I think, was when the self-titled Vision of Disorder album came out. Now, you have to bear in mind that this was right in the middle of, you know, there was a lot of black metal and death metal and all that kind of stuff going on, and that was what I was really into at that point. Oh, well, you know, there was Korn and the Deftones as well, you know, and Fear Factory and Machine Head and all those kind of things, but certainly I was, you know, my favourite thing at that point was death metal and black metal. And Iron Maiden, obviously. But anyway, Vision of Disorder came along, and their first album was just a thrilling thing, you know, because it was metallic hardcore. It certainly was, you know, they're from New York, and it's from that. It certainly came from that musical basis, you know, those musical elements that were in Agnostic Front and Sick of It All were certainly present. But they were doing new things with it, you know, and it had a lot of groove to it, which you may have been able to trace to Pantera or Machine Head or whatever. But it also had some slightly more left field elements to it as well, and subtle uses of melody and stuff that, you know, maybe had a little bit in common with the Deftones, I suppose. I don't know, maybe something along those lines. But anyway, it was kind of a hybrid of styles that was you know, definitely hardcore in delivery and execution, you know, but a little bit more inventive, really. And although the production on that first album is a bit crap, yes, it is 1996. There you go. The production wasn't all that really, but it was a fantastic record, you know, and very, very exciting. And you know, those of us that are old enough to remember when it came out, it's you know, it was one of the most exciting albums of that year. When they released the follow-up, Imprint, which came out 2 years later, I think '98. Yep. It had Phil Anselmo doing guest vocals on a track called By the River, which is monstrous, by the way. If you haven't heard it, make sure you do. And that album was even more adventurous musically. It was, you know, just astonishing. So those first two albums, which you can get here in this handy Roadrunner thing, which is called Two from the Vault. I don't know if, I assume it's just, you can probably get this for 8p on Amazon or something. It's got both albums in it, so well worth getting. Two for the price of one. Yeah, just fantastic, groundbreaking records, really. And I think Vision of Disorder have. I don't know why I said "and I think" twice then. Anyway, I think the Vision of Disorder have been incredibly influential, actually. You know, and when you look at bands like I don't know, Architects and things like that, that kind of that mixture of brutality, the really extreme metal side of things, and the hardcore thing, and melody, and not the whiny post-hardcore pop-punky kind of melody drivel, but actual, you know, inventive use of melody. A lot of that stuff, I think, comes from Vision of Disorder, even though they weren't particularly massive at the time. You know, I think they're one of those bands that a lot of people discovered after the fact, I think, really. This is their third album, From Bliss to Devastation, which came out in 2001. Which was had a slightly grungier feel to it. It kind of combined what they'd done before with a kind of Alice in Chainsy vibe, maybe. And again, brilliant record. Not my favourite of the first three, probably, but still really, definitely worth checking out. Anyway, then they kind of split up and they've disappeared, and you know, didn't get to capitalise on the fact that they were influencing lots of bands. But now they're back, and they reformed a few years ago for ostensibly a one-off reunion show, but obviously it became several reunion shows, and then they thought, oh well, fuck it, we might as well make another album. You know, the singer Tim Williams had been in a band called Blood Simple prior to that, who I wasn't a massive fan of, to be honest, although I have always really liked Tim's vocals. So anyway, so it's exciting that they got back together. And the problem is, when a band reforms, you know, that so everybody fucking reforms these days, and it's generally really tedious and pointless and just cynical, grabbing cash for the sake of it. Although it's lovely that we can all go and see bands that we missed out on first time round. You know, if you're going to make a new record, make sure it's a good one, for Christ's sake. Excuse me. So Vision of Disorder getting back together, you know, I suppose the two questions are, one, could they make an album that equalled the brilliance of the first two, and secondly, would anyone care? I mean, you know, they're not a band that sold millions of records, and they, you know, although as influential as they are, whatever, it's debatable whether, you know, there's been a massive kind of public demand for a Vision of Disorder reunion. Well, hang on, I'll just have a bit more of Mike Seaman here. Oh, not very nice, really. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, when I got sent this album, I was quite nervous putting it on, because I thought, if this is shit, then this is not going to be good. But from the first track, well, I mean, you can. I'm not even sure. I think there's at least 2 tracks available online now to hear. Anyway, I think the album's out very shortly. September, I think it's out. But it's just, honestly, from the opening seconds of the first track, it just takes your fucking head off. This album. I mean, the album's called The Cursed Remain Cursed. It's out on Candlelight Records. And it kind of goes to show how astute Candlelight are these days. They're signing bands like this, and, you know, Orange Goblin and Corrosion of Conformity, because they're not the traditional, you know, you kind of associate Candlelight with black metal and stuff, but they're signing some really kind of seminal bands, really, and Vision of Disorder have basically, what they've done, I mean, you know, I'm not putting words into their mouth, but it sounds to me like they've kind of taken the best elements of what they did first time round, all 3 of their previous albums, and just added more to it, and ensure that there's a production to go with it this time that really kind of, you know, brings out the heaviness and the aggression in the music, and it's brutal and raw sounding. It's not overproduced by any means, but it's really, really crushing and heavy sounding record. And there's probably not that much of the kind of more melodic, grungy stuff that was on From Bliss to Devastation. So I guess it's more a kind of cross between the first 2 albums, and with a few new elements in there. But my God, it goes on like a rocket. If I can find the track listing here somewhere, I can't. Oh, anyway, the first track's called Loveless, and that one's definitely available online. And that will rip your face off, guaranteed. The second track is the one that sums the whole album up for me. It's called Set to Fail. And it's just that perfect combination of that New York metallic hardcore aggression, a really punchy kind of staccato, precise kind of riffing and stuff, and like little bits of Slayer thrown in. There's like little Slayery riffs in there, and lots of kind of syncopated stops and starts, and fast and slow parts, and Tim Williams' vocals are just seething. I mean, the man's so bloody angry, and it really comes across, and it's very obviously genuine. You know, you hear a lot of bands these days. You really young bands, you know, desperately trying to sound really angry, and you just think, well, you're not angry really, are you? You're just screaming a lot, you know. And I know I'm a fine one to talk, you know, because I do a lot of screaming in my band, but I'm genuinely angry as well. And I think that comes with age, really. You know, you've got more to be angry with when you get to my age. Yeah, I mean, the Visions of Disorder just sound immense on this album, absolutely immense, and there's not a bad track on it. I mean, it's one of those albums that whizzes by in about 3 seconds, you know, and you think, bloody hell, was that it? Is it finished? Let me have a look at the track listing. Here we go. Oh god, yeah, this is just a fantastic record. Loveless and Set to Fail is one of the best opening, you know, braces of songs that I've heard in a long time. Braces of songs, holding your trousers up or something. Blood Red Sun, that's an amazing song. Hard Times is not a cover of the Cro-Mags classic of the same name, but that's fantastic as well. There's a brilliant track called Skulls Out, Skulls with a Z, obviously, in brackets, Rot in Pieces, which is just furious. I think my favourite track on it is The Seventh Circle. That and Set to Fail, I think, are the two for me. But I mean, it's just, you know, I could go through all the tracks and describe them for you, but you're really much better just hearing the damn thing. I mean, I get really bored of people, you know, talking about hardcore bands these days, and you say, oh, I've heard this brilliant new hardcore band, and then they put them on, and it's just lame, whiny, nothing hard or core about it, you know. And it's just, if you're going to call yourselves hardcore, you should at least be aggressive and sound like you mean it, really, you know. It's like, if you're going to call yourselves punk rock, at least have some vague semblance of the essence of what it was supposed to be about in the first place, you know. Don't just be a pop band with loud guitars, because that's not punk rock, you know. As much as some of the early punk bands were pop bands as well, I suppose, in their own way, but, you know, it's complicated business, this music thing, isn't it? But anyway, it's just, you know, this to me is a fucking brilliant metallic hardcore record, really, and it's diverse and it's adventurous and it's inventive, and lots of other words that you'll probably find in my reviews if you read them. It's just, I don't know, they just sound like they mean it, and I think that counts for a lot, really. There's a track called Be Up on it, which is just amazing, and it almost ventures into kind of the groovy new metal style riffing in it, and but it's just done in such a vicious way. I mean, it just explodes, this album. I cannot wait to see the band live. They're playing in London in September, and it's going to be absolute carnage, because you know that there's been a lot of kids out there who've been listening to Vision of Disorder that probably have never had the chance to see him live, and I didn't get to see him live first time around either, so I'm really excited about seeing him. I think it's going to be brutal, and Earth Tone 9 are playing with him as well, so even better, you know. So yeah, The Cursed Remain Cursed. I mean, it's a dark record, it's a really personal record. Tim Williams' lyrics are great. His vocals are fantastic. He has got a very distinctive voice. I mean, he's not your usual New York hardcore bellower who just rattles on about, you know, the price of vests. He's really got something to say, but he's also got a very distinctive tone to his voice, you know, and his screams are really great. And when he does sing, it's got that kind of slightly left of centre weirdness to it that makes it intriguing, you know, rather than just, you know, oh, well, there's that tune again that 800 other bands have already used. And it's just the riffs on this album, God, it's like a total riff fest. Anyway, so putting the main point, you know, in a nutshell, this album, if you like metallic hardcore and you like aggressive heavy music, then I guarantee that this will make you want to smash stuff up. Probably your own house, but whatever you're insured, doesn't matter. Blame somebody else. Blame, I don't know. I nearly said something really inappropriate then. Blame Mike Shinoda. So Mike Shinoda came around my house and smashed stuff up. It took him a long time because he barely had the strength to lift the sledgehammer, but, you know, judging by this semen, you should probably consult a doctor. But anyway, there you go. So yeah, Vision of Disorder, The Cursed Remain Cursed. It's fucking amazing. Definitely in my top 10 of the year so far at this point. It's I don't know, what can I say? It's just fucking brilliant. And I commend it to you. So there you go. That's today's Iron Sandwich about Vision of Disorder. Fantastic band, great comeback. I hope they make more records and continue, because we need more bands that actually, you know, do the job properly, frankly. So there you go. I'll fuck off, I'm just rambling now, it's drivel. Yeah, heavy metal, cheers, and see you in the pit. I won't see you in the pit, I'll be at the bar. Cheers.